minister the longest? Here's a question. How many years have you done? EJ, how many years are you in? 30 years? At least 20. I see the great ones. At least 20. Anybody got that beat? Steve said 40? We're going to give y'all the Golden Dinosaur Awards because they're so old. I'm going to give you the T-Rex for inside joke reasons. Anybody served for at least 5 years? It says at least 5. Okay, awesome. 6? 7? What? Yeah. 8 years? 9 years? 10 years? She's been here since we started. I said, Jamie's like, I want a lot of days, man. There's a lot of them. I don't know. Krista, you should get a Golden Dinosaur Award too. I'll give her is this a triceratops? I know dinosaurs real good. My name's Tim. I've been in student ministry for about 18 years. So when I got out of high school, I did something probably longer, but I went to college for it, moved out there. So I've been a pastor in student ministry for about 15 years in some way, shape, or form. I think my third song that I'll never forget the lyrics to is probably All Star by Smash Mouth. Is that you? Air high five. Cool. In fact, fun fact, I don't know if my wife knows this story. So the first time I ever heard that story, I was in 9th grade. I was at a summer camp in upstate New York, called Wildwood. And it's a song that cabin used to wake all the kids up. And so they would blare that song really loud. But that's actually the week I gave my life to the Lord. And so it's a really sweet memory. The song has nothing to do with my faith, but just some fun facts. So my wife and I, we moved to Kinston about 10 years ago. If we haven't met, we got some new faces. So not that I matter, but just so you know, because I want to get to know you too. This is my wife over here. Give a little. We moved to Kinston about 10 years ago. In fact, I think about 11 years ago I met Ryan. I think we were both youth pastors. I was at another church. He was at doing another thing, and we met up at ETL. We were serving the local community. We did a week project, and there are all these number signs around the yard. Like, what the heck are all these numbers? What is this 902 thing going on? And so my wife and I felt called to move to Kinston. We have a heart for Kinston, and we moved about 10 years ago just to be a part of the church. And we helped start SM, and it's been an incredible year. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, like really powerful moments. And so my heart has always been for the local church. And over the last 10 years, I've had the privilege of seeing different seats around the church. Some were awesome, some were out of need. If you work in a church, work in businesses, you ever have, like, it's just like the jobs kind of come on. It's not so much that that's your specialty, but it needs to be done. And so I sat in different seats, had the privilege. And so I did some other things about a year ago. I started having conversations with our elders, and Ryan and Justin and some other people. And I'll be honest, I missed it. Like, I missed everything about it. I missed the students, I missed the leaders, I missed the ministry. And so we kind of asked if I could step back into it. And so a year ago, if you were here at Vision Night 1 year ago, got a little emotional, so I was like, man, you ever just felt like, do I even have it? Like, am I good enough to do something? And that's kind of how I felt a year ago stepping in, but I just felt like the Lord's calling me back. And I'm going to be like super honest, this is one of my favorite years of ministry ever. I don't know about you, but I had a blast hanging out with you guys. I've met some really great people. It's been a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to kind of build on what God started a year ago. And so, but when we were in here a year ago, if you were here with us a year ago, we're kind of like rethinking, rebuilding, and just kind of figuring this thing out. We said from day one that our goal was to be the healthiest ministry we could be. And we said we're just going to go all out on being healthy. And we said if we could be healthy as leaders, if we could get a healthy ministry, I feel like we're going to see the fruits of that. Our goal wasn't to be big and flashy and try to fill the place up with hundreds of kids. It was just to be a healthy ministry pointing students to Jesus. And so it's a genuine question. I haven't even told them we're going to ask this, but if you served last year, honest, how did we do scale 1 to 10? How healthy do you feel like we were?
About 12.
About 12. Check some right here, my guy. Did y'all, if you served, did you have a good time this year?
Yep.
And I'm so excited to hear that. I want to share some numbers before we kind of get in. So a year ago, we were averaging 18 volunteers, This year we had 1,371 check-ins over 40 events, so our average over the year was 34 volunteers. That was our average. And our last event during summertime, we had one event like one summer, so on roster right now we have 49 volunteers by the end of the year that were serving us. Really, really cool. 1 year ago, we averaged around 55 students. This year, we had 3,128 check-ins over 40 events, so our average was 78 students. It was really cool. And we hit the 90s and 100s by the springtime a few times. It's really cool what God has done. We had 291 unique students come through our doors this year. Almost 300 different teenagers came through. We had 143 first-time kids. That's half. That's pretty cool. I like to think, I hope, that because we tried really hard to be healthy, I think that God blessed our ministry, and I think it's just beginning. And so I'm really excited for this year to kind of debut a little bit. So every year we do a theme, and so this year our theme for student ministry, something we kind of focus on all year round, is go and make disciples. Okay, there it is. These are our sweet shirts. If you sign up to serve today, you're going to get a shirt from it. But at the end of every service, what do we say in church?
Now
We say the Great Commission. Now go. No, we're not going to do it right now. We can do it again. But we talked to students about hopefully who Jesus is, and we introduced them to God. But our goal this year, what I've been I can't stop thinking about this, is what if our students really learn how to truly live out their faith? Not just on Wednesday nights, not just on Sunday mornings. Like, what would it look like in our community if students were truly living out and talking about their faith to their friends? And it's happening. But could you imagine what could happen in homes? Can you imagine what could happen in the schools, in our communities, if students were bold enough, brave enough, and at times it's not very popular to talk about Jesus, to live a life that talks about Jesus, to live in a way that when people see their lives, when people see them, they see Jesus. And so that's kind of something you're going to see as a theme in SM this year. We're going to close out SM with the Great Commission at the end of the night. And so we got this little character. We might need to do a little activity to see what we want to call him. This is going to be a little mascot this year. I don't know. We got little stickers and stuff. I love a good sticker. I don't know, Sonny? I don't know. Y'all think of a name. We'll do a little contest. So that's going to be a theme that we're going to see over and over and over again throughout this year. And so if you see somebody wearing one of these shirts, minus Josh Banks who cheated, there's Josh. But the rest of the people wearing these shirts, well, this is our SM leadership team. So we have Steve over here is our SM leadership team, Ryan Kroom, Crystal Howard. I almost called you Taylor. I'm so sorry. Crystal Howard. I had Brittany Taylor in my phone. I had to change it today. Everybody's getting married and changing names. Patricia, we're getting back. Patricia Aldridge is right here. Lynn Cahoon is on our leadership team this year, and also, okay, and last but not least, all the way back, Miss Jamie Stewart is on our team this year, and we'll talk about some new roles we got going on. But here's the good news. So, some of you, you've been in SM. Crystal's been here for 10 years since we started this thing. Some of you have never been to an SM before. Maybe you started coming to SM this summer. Maybe you're a parent checking things out. You're like, okay, I want to know what you're going to do with my kid if I'm dropping them off. Some of you, maybe you came to start here. And so I recognize we're in different boats. So real quick, what I feel like I need to do before we get into the vision for the series, I just want to take a few minutes and just kind of give a 10,000-foot view of what SM is. Why do we do what we do? What does it look like? What does a Wednesday do? What happens here? So I just feel like we could kind of lay that foundation. And then what we're going to do is we got a calendar in front of you. We're going to go through the calendar. I'm going to share some upcoming sermons that we're going to do this year, some really cool events that are going to kind of tie into our mission. And then at the very end, I'll share our teams, and we're going to go through some fine print stuff. There's some important things, just kind of dotting our I's, crossing our T's, talk about background checks, different things as leaders and standards that we're going to have this year. So, real quick, if you're new to SM, I don't even know what SM means. SM means student ministry. I know it's super crazy creative. But some people see it what is that, small? What does SM mean? I don't know, student ministry. So we have a why and a what. So the why does SM exist? SM exists to show students how to love God and live the life that He has for them. Our mission as a church is to reach people who are far from God, lead to a growing relationship with Jesus. SM leaders, we got people coming far from God, don't we? We have some students come who don't know Jesus. We have some students who come honestly don't even want to be in church. Whether it's their friend invited them, we do food, there's different things. There's kids who are far from God, and our big heart is they're only going to be in student ministry at most for 7 years. Unless they're educational, they're 8, I don't know, we've had a couple of 8 years. But most of them are 7 years at most during that time. I don't know why I said that. Words just come out sometimes. We got about 7 years. We have this small time frame in their life that we get to hopefully influence them towards Jesus. And our time at that time, we want to make sure that when they leave SM, when they graduate, when they move on to other things, they love God and they learn how to live the life they're having. Everything we do is filtered through. That's the why. But then there's a what or how. And so we are a small group-based ministry, so our goal is to connect every student with a godly adult who will walk alongside them. I don't know, how many of y'all have ever been in a small group before? Could be a few. Sweet. How many have led a small group before? So small groups, we are, so on average, I said we're somewhere between 90 and 100 now, we've grown a lot. And how do you, salvations and awesome moments, growth happens in rows, but true life change, true discipleship happens in circles, not rows. And we recognize that we want to offer a place for students to process their faith, to think of, to be able to talk out what they're going through. And it's in these moments that they have this connection. And you and I both know this, we talk this a lot, but it's not a matter of if life happens, it's when life happens. And I don't know if we can remember, like the farther I get from middle school, high school, I start to feel, but those are some hard years. There's a lot of things that go on during those years of a person's life. And they don't always have the best, or right, or even anybody to process all the things that they're going through and experiencing. And so we want to put them in a circle with trusted, godly people who we kind of call they're like the pastors who kind of show up. They're the little shepherds, they're the ones who are really doing life with them. And so everything we do as a ministry is for the goal of connecting them with a godly adult who can walk alongside them. And how many parents have got in the house? You ever said something to your kid? You're like, hey, you should do this, you should do this. And they look at you like you're dumb. And Kyle walks up to them, says the same thing. And they're like, I should do that. And I'm like, I hate you. I literally hate you. No, I'm just kidding. But one of the benefits of it is we want to have a second person in their life who's echoing what's being said at home, who's echoing what maybe mom and dad are trying to tell them they're not listening to. Hopefully we can introduce something. Our goal isn't to be mom and dad. In fact, if you look at SM, you're like, hey, I'm here. I want to be like a dad to these kids. I don't want you. That's creepy. Our goal isn't to be the mom and the dad. Our goal is to come partner with mom and dad and help them in the journey because they're going to be in the kids' life way after we're not. And so that is kind of like the why and the how of what we do. And real quick, if you've never been at SM, here's a super brief agenda. This is what Wednesdays typically look like. Early we kind of set things up. We have a bunch of teams, and we'll talk about that. But around 6 to 6:30, all of our adults, all our volunteers, we get in here together and we break bread. Kids aren't here yet, hopefully, unless they're breaking the rules. But we're usually not. We come in here. Miss Karen has an awesome cooking team with Chastity for several. Amber, they cook it for us. We do two things. We love to eat food, and we also offer childcare. Those are our two things we try to do every adult. And so we get here together just as adults because we're coming from work, we're coming from home, we're coming from craziness, and we need a minute too, don't we? And so it's this beautiful time for us as adults to get together, to laugh, to eat, and we huddle up, and we do some kind of training. We're going to be more intentional this year. It's just kind of, hey, what's coming up today? What are we working towards? And we huddle, we pray for the night, we break bread. And so that first part is with us adults. And at 6:30 we say go to our battle stations, right? So we're going to go out and it's time to go. So at 6:30 to 7 is what we call pre-service. Ryan Kroom over here leads our pre-service team. And so our pre-service is super fun. Ryan, you want to give a snapshot of what pre-service is? I'm totally putting you on the spot, right?
We used to have games set up, different stations. Inside we got video games. Outside we got different activities going on most of the time. And then Trisha leads up the cafe, so we got cafe going on. It's just a good time to actually get to know the kids. That's not even in your group, and trying to build that relationship and that bond.
Something we say is that kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And this isn't random, it's sometimes it feels random. It's organized chaos. But I believe there's something called a theology of fun. And it's not biblical, you're not going to find the Bible. The idea is that I believe that fun matters. That fun over time earns influence when life isn't fun. Because we know that's going to happen. And so when you come up in that first 30 minutes, kids if we throw them into the sanctuary, they have so many things going on. They want to be with their friends. But this time is this beautiful time for their walls to come down, for them to laugh, to see that an adult actually cares about them. This is where we throw dodgeballs at their face, or they play 9 square, we spike volleyballs on. We have fun. We play together, we laugh together, we're growing together. And so what happens, I believe that when we laugh together, there's this bonding that happens. And so we like to laugh together. We take ourselves very seriously as people. And it's this really cool time that we get to just be kids again for a minute. And so we play games, we have fun, and we earn that credit for when life isn't fun. I had this analogy. I don't even know if this is going to work, but I just thought about this today. I see Billy. Anybody like to smoke meat? Billy, where are my cookers at? You like to cook? Okay, I see. So I have this. What I say, guys? Smoke meat. I don't even want to know. Let's just go. I smoke barbecue, the big pork shoulder. And so what do you do if you're going to smoke the pork shoulder? What do you got to do, Dakota? What do you do? You gotta marinate it, or put a good rub on it. You gotta pull it out, get it to room temperature, right? You don't just put it on the smoker cold, you gotta get it right, get it ready. If you put it on cold, you're doing it wrong, it's just get it to room temperature, come on back to it. And I had this idea, I was like, I don't know if this works out, but it's like, you prepare it to cook, and it's almost like pre-service is preparing to let the Holy Spirit cook when we get in the sanctuary. And so we go in there, and we have worship, and we have a service in the sanctuary at 7 o'clock, which always starts with a church clap. And if you don't know, you're going to know. And I've tried to kill this thing for so many years, and it doesn't work. It's this church dance that they love. And I guess it's just going to happen until Jesus comes back. And so we go, that's like 1 or 2 weeks, you'll hear it, you'll get it, you'll know it. They all go up front, they dance to it. Am I wrong, Katie? Mostly girls, but the guys do too. And so you'll see like 50 kids just up front doing this church clap dance. It's pretty fun. And you hear that, and so Steve runs around like, church clap, church clap! And we kind of get all the kids. We all go to the sanctuary around 7 o'clock. We kind of have this like little moment, we get them in there. Sometimes we play a game in the beginning. We've been doing something called Jesus Moments. And so we just ask kids locally, sit down, hey, where have you seen Jesus? I don't know, this year we might introduce some testimonies. I'd love to hear some testimonies from students, get a chance to kind of share really where they've seen Jesus. We do worship. Pastor Luke leads our worship team. But man, can we just brag on somebody in the room real quick? I don't know if y'all know Wesley or not. Wesley plays keys in our worship. And how long have you been playing keys for? 2 years. Pretty good for 2 years. So Wesley, he's the guy who he can just pick up something and learn it in like 30 seconds. But he started playing the keys, and you played for the last year, but over a mission trip. We went on a mission trip this summer. And we didn't have a set, we didn't have speakers, we didn't have anything. We had this old out-of-tune key, like piano. And Wesley stepped up on this piano and just started leading worship each night. And he was singing and leading us. Was that not some of the best worship we've had on that church? We didn't have flashing lights, we didn't have all this crazy thing. We just had a piano and people singing out to Jesus. And it was the coolest thing. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how much they love things like worshiping around. And even at our August events, so during the school year we meet every week. During the summertime, we just have like one big event a month. Summers get crazy. And so Wesley led worship on stage this last Wednesday by himself, microphone and everything. And it was powerful. So we go and we have worship, and then we have a message, and we do series, kind of like Sunday mornings, a little bit more geared towards students. And I'll share some of the ones we have coming up. And we have different speakers sometimes, and so it lasts about like 20, 25 minutes. And so that's our service time in the sanctuary. And then if you're here this summer, there's something new that we don't do during the summertime that I'm so ready for. And it's that last piece right there, and it's our groups. And so at the last 30 minutes of the night, after we're in the sanctuary, we split up into groups around campus. And we like to split up by age and gender. So every grade and every gender gets their own groups. There's a 6th grade girls group, and a 6th grade boys group, and a 7th grade. So we have 14 small groups, and each small group gets 2 leaders, 2 godly adults to show up. There's a couple reasons for that. 1, accountability. But 2, we don't always put 2 people who are exactly the same. I don't know if you know this or not. I'm going to break heart real quick. Not every teenager is going to like you. Not every teenager is going to connect with you. And what's cool is when you put 2 different people in a room, there may be kids in your group that don't like you. And as like this person who, like, I hate when people don't like me like that, like me, please, I'll do whatever, I'll buy you candy, I don't know. But they might connect with that other person, and they feel safe with the other person. So we always like to have 2 for several reasons. So we put 2 people in each one, and there is a process, and if you have, we don't have handbooks yet, I'll get to you in a minute. But this year we're doing something a little bit different, and we are elevating that position. I don't know, like that is to us, well, not to downplay any other position. Go ahead, Christina. Not to downplay any other position, because every position here is important. But I think we would all agree, small groups are another level. Because you're not just here on Wednesday nights and go home. These kids have your number, there's usually chat groups, and kids go through things. And in some ways, you're like on call 24/7. Now you can turn your phone off and stuff, but right, they're always hitting you up, there's always something going on. And so we want to help, and if you started a small group leader last year, there may have been moments, sometimes we feel it's like, it's the best, it's great, you're going to love it. And then week 1, we're like, gotcha, treat you a little bit. Like anyone had a hard moment in small groups before? You never thought, like, I don't know if I'm coming back. Like, I can't. There are some questions that happen in small group that definitely need to stay in small group, right? Like there are, and maybe along the way you're like, I was tricked. Like this is not what I thought. And that's how we work sometimes. But our hope this year is to, I think that if that was you, you probably, like there's moments where you wish that you were better equipped. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And so this year we want to help better equip you, and we're actually going to have 2 trainings, we'll talk about that in a minute, for you to be a small group leader. But what you teach in small groups matters. And we have a family ministry covenant, and there's some things in the church, like there's different churches that gets right, and there's some things that churches disagree on. Like there's some churches that like things that they're not salvation, eternal issues. Does that make sense? Like the style of music. I don't think we're gonna get to heaven and Jesus says, "Oh, you got drums, you can't come in because you didn't use a hymn book," right? Like there's preference, but there are some things that matter. And so there are some questions that we hold to a different standard in that application that we want to know what you believe, because at some point something's going to happen. A kid's going to ask a question, and if you believe certain things are important to us, they're more important, then you're either going to break your own integrity or you're going to break the integrity of your church. You're going to teach something that you don't believe in, or you're going to teach something that we don't believe in. And so there is a process, and I'm going to be honest, the application, there's like 20 questions. It's not an easy thing. It's not like I'm going to go on and finish in 5 minutes. It probably is going to take you half an hour to an hour to complete. There's questions that Pastor Ryan, Chris and I have kind of worked through this. These are important questions. I don't want to be super blunt. These are questions as a dad that I care what you're teaching my kids. And if I don't trust you teaching my kids these things, then we got to be careful who we let trust to teach our students. Does that make sense? I hope you hear our heart in that. But also, you don't have to have perfect answers. Don't be like, "Oh shoot, I don't know the full answer to this. I can't do it." No, it also helps us know where our people are at. And we want to equip you and help you if there's things that we don't understand. Does that make sense? So, to be a small group leader is an elevated thing. These other positions, there's check-in, there's pre-service, and you can be weekly or bi-weekly, but to be a small group leader is a weekly commitment. Like you need to show up consistently, show up regularly. There's not once a month or twice a month to be a small group leader. It's a weekly commitment. Does life happen? Can you make every single week 40 weeks out of the year? Probably not. But you need to, does that make sense? Like it's an elevated position, it's a bigger commitment, and it's not for everybody, and that's okay. But that is the final part, and that's the most important. So what happens, we do sermons, and we give you questions. And we're using, the questions look different this year. We're going to go with a different curriculum. We're going to use Orange this year. Orange is what our kids use. Orange is what we've used historically as SM. The theory behind Orange is that church is the light of the world, right? In fact, we're going to talk about our very first week of SM back. That's yellow. Home is supposed to be a place of love. That's red. What happens when the church and the home come together? They make orange. So that's kind of like our heart behind our curriculum and what we do. And so we'll give you, if you're a small group leader, we'll give you questions. We email them out a week ahead of time. Say, "Hey, here's what we're talking about this week. This is the message. This is the topic. Here are 5 or 6 questions for you to start thinking and praying through to do in small." So we set you up to have good conversations. You ever had small group and you didn't get through any of the questions before? It happens sometimes. Have you ever got to small group and got through all the questions? I'm genuinely curious. Is that I think hopefully, thank you, Bobby. You get it done this spring. I'm just kidding. You should. I will get, yes. Have you really got through all your questions in small group? Promise? Okay, you are. 6th grade girls got them. 6th grade boys definitely did not go through any of the questions. So we give you questions, they're guidelines, and sometimes you get to 6th graders, 6th grade boys, you get to small group, Lynn, and it's just like the first questions, they're talking about farts. And you will not stop, no matter what you do, you will talk about farts all night long, and they're laughing at it, and you're getting nothing done that night. Just call it what it is. Hey, tonight's just going to be a bonding fun night. Like, sometimes that happens. But you try really hard to get to the questions. The questions are going to help students flesh out what they're learning. To, learn how to, actually, what does this mean? So, okay, so Jesus is love. What does that mean for me during math class tomorrow? What does this mean for me at home? And those questions help flesh that out, help them learn what it means to actually live like Jesus. So we're going to set you up with those questions, and the best you can, we do those. Now in small groups, we're not doing anything else. We don't do like other book studies or Bible studies. If you want to do that outside with the kids, it's cool. But during small groups, we do those questions. So that was more than 3 minutes. But that's SM on Wednesday nights. That's what Wednesdays look like. Any questions about that? This is super formal, obviously. So hope that's a good picture of how kind of Wednesdays go. We go all in on Wednesdays. We don't do anything on Sunday mornings or Sunday nights. We are Chick-fil-A, not Golden Corral. Like, we're not a buffet doing everything kind of spinning around. We're going to do chicken really good, right? That's our hope and our goal is to do one thing really well. And we try really hard to keep our schedule slim in this regard. Every time you add events, it adds stress on our volunteers. It adds stress on parents. It costs more money. And typically, I'm in a church, we did a Sunday morning, Sunday night, and a Wednesday night program. And what we found was we were reaching the same kids, just spread out. No kid came to all 3, and we didn't have, it's like, when we went to 1 week, we found like they all came together, and it just works really beautifully for us. And maybe I'm biased, I think Sunday mornings are pretty good around here. We got a good pastor, right? He's pretty good. I was like, yes, he's really good. Okay, I was like, yeah, he's really good. We have great worship, like Sunday morning, our hope is that families worship together. And then Wednesday nights are a time for students to come learn more. Does that make sense? Cool. That's what a couple. Let's go to the calendar. You got that? You got to say that right. Calendar. Some things are changing this year, and so I want to walk you through a few different things. The first thing you're going to notice off right the bat, if you haven't, if you've been part of SM before, SKO is usually what? A 3-night party, and y'all won this year. I'm just saying. So typically we do a 3-night party Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and the idea was like we're going to make this like the best, funnest start to the year where new kids want to come out. And it worked a lot of times, like just make this as a big fun party, we build connections, and they'll want to come back all year long and learn about Jesus. And we typically saw a lot of new kids come. That's when we saw like our biggest flush. But this summer, we have not stopped slowing down at the first timers. We had like 11 or 13 at our last event. We had 16 the week before. Jamie's coming on as our leadership team to help us. We had 143 students. But I'll be honest, I told her, I don't know how many of those came back. And I felt like I'm not being a good steward of our first timers. And so Jamie's coming on our team to help us see this. She's going to help oversee checking in first timers to help us see, to make sure the students don't fall through the cracks. We want them to come back, and she's going to really help us with that. But we've had a ton this summer. But here's where I feel like we miss, and I'm just going to be super blunt on it. Like, I don't know that in SKO, we do a good job of really pointing people to Jesus. And I'm pointing to myself on that. And so this year at SKO, it's going to be a one-night event. It's going to be a lot of fun still. But I'm believing and praying it's like an altar call night. This is going to be a night we're going to point people. We're going to start off with Jesus at SKO. But here's what we feel. So if you've been a small group leader before, usually this is what happens. We don't start small groups right away. We kind of take a couple weeks, get to know each other, kind of figure things out. You know, I think I want to be a 6th grade small group leader. 2 weeks later, like, I want high school. Right? Like some things kind of happen. We give you time to kind of flush that out. And so then we start small groups at the end of September, early October. And usually what happens is it takes about 3 or 4 months to really bond with your students. Now, some of you are returners, some of you are coming back from the year before, you're already going to have that connection. But I said this before, usually it's around January, February, typically, we some of our best conversations. Because I think, hopefully by that point, people start to feel safe in the circle. We kind of know each other. And this is just been a conviction because I feel like those are 3 and 4 important months. Like, man, why do we have to wait until February to have, like, true bonding and good connections? Like, is there a way to do it sooner? And so this year we're going to do something we've never done before, and we're going to do a fall retreat, a fall weekend retreat. And it's on your calendar the 25th, 26th, and 27th of October. And so as a team we prayed into it. Here's what we said. We feel like we should take a lot of the resources that we spend and invest in SKO, and we're going to invest in a discipleship weekend retreat. And we just came back from a mission trip that has just been incredible. The things that happen in the students' lives and in the leaders' lives, something happens when you give space for Jesus outside of normal life and you serve. And so this is going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We don't have the final times yet. We're going to be staying at the Refuge in Aden. And our plan is to get there Friday night. We're going to be staying there in all their houses. We have the whole camp reserved for ourselves. And we're going to have worship there, campfires there. And on Saturday morning, we're going to try to do serve projects. And we're trying to get a different serve project for each small group to get to do in the community for that day, to serve around. So Chris is our small groups. Chris was our small group director of coordinator. So if you have questions about small groups, want to serve in small groups, Crystal's going to be the person. And so we've been working together trying to come out. She's been, Mary's Kitchen and different things. Like, what would it look like for us to have the students actually serve that weekend? So we're going to go away. We're going to have fun. We're going to play games. We're going to go camping. We're going to, have a lot of great times. We're going to serve together. We're also going to have fun and laugh together. So that's going to be that weekend. And we can't require it. It's not like if you can't go, you can't be a small group leader. But if you want to be a small group leader, and I get that things happen, and I know there's complexities with child care. We're trying to work through some different things, and I don't know what that looks like, but that weekend, I believe, I can't promise because I haven't done it, but I really believe that's going to be a game changer in your relationships with your few. I believe that when you get away with it, something amazing, I believe that Jesus can do something powerful that weekend in our lives, in our students' lives, and in our circles. And so prayerfully, I encourage you, because I think that's going to be your best opportunity to not have to wait till January, February to have really good conversations. How many of y'all went on a mission trip? Do we have real conversations on the mission trip?
Yes.
I mean, there's a little drama. We're not going to get into that. That always happens. When you get a bunch of teenagers, even adults, out of our comfort zone, past our bedtime, but were there not some of the best Jesus moments on that trip? Were there not some of the best Jesus conversations on that trip? Hopefully, did you not see Jesus in a different way through that trip? And so our hope, and it's only for 3 days, which is short to think about, but this weekend I believe it's going to change our conversations, our relationships. And so we're kind of used to this. We're going to want to test it out. We try things, and if it doesn't work, we'll do it again. We'll do something different. But I really believe, and our team believes, that this could be a momentum changer, a game changer for our student ministers. So we're going to do that in October. Are y'all cool with that? Yeah. You want to try that? That's good. A couple other things, I don't know what you see on there. So the 25th, Small Group's going to start back up in September. And I'll walk through this and go ahead and put that up there. I'm going to show you a couple of our sermon series we have coming up. Our very first sermon series, SKO, next week, we're starting a series called The Hills. And so we're going to kick this thing off, talking about how Jesus is the light of the world, and they're called to be the light of the world. And so we're starting this thing off with Sunday. We're going to be hitting him up. And so we have these like stickers. We'll do some devotionals, by the way. If you want to help do some devotionals, you can go to the Bible app at me because I could use some help. We do devotionals with our sermon series. And so each week, if they do their sermon series, like they do the devotionals that week, they'll come back and they'll get a sticker of Sunday. If they come back the next week, they'll get this global guy, this little world guy. Also, I don't know if you see it, but Sunny has his hand stamped. If you know, you know. Okay. And like each week they do devotionals, they'll get like a different little cool little sticker for them to kind of bribe them. So 3 weeks we're going to be talking about how to live for Jesus in our homes, in our schools, to be a light of the world for Jesus. That's our first year. We'll do it for 3 weeks. On week 4, on September 18th, we're going to do a one-off message on small groups. And we're going to talk about the importance of small groups, but particularly, our big idea that we're going to talk about that you will only get out of small groups what you're willing to put into small groups. And so that's where we're going to introduce this idea of small groups to our teenagers, kind of share what, if they've never been part of a small group before, this is what it is. This is where we're really explaining the heart behind it. We have a small group training 3 days before that is going to be required to be a small group leader on the 15th of September. So by the 18th, we know who leaders are, and we kind of tease it out to the students so they kind of meet it. And then on the next week, on the 25th, we're going to launch small groups with a series called Roundabout. How many of y'all know that life goes through a lot of changes in middle school and high school? Everything's changing. Their voice is changing, their classes are changing, their friends are changing, who they are changes from one day to the next. For a lot of kids, these are hard years where home changes. The nuclear family isn't what it was. There's kids who go through divorces, there's kids who, the homes are changing, everything's changing. And our goal in this, our hope is to help students realize that when everything changes, God never changes. And then no matter what they go through, God will always be there with them and for them. So we're going to talk about some different changes like in life, and they're not all bad. Anyone ever got like a new puppy or a new cat before? Hopefully not a cat. Where my dog people at? Y'all are real G's. So you get a puppy. This is new. This is awesome. Puppies change things. They pee and poop everywhere. They chew stuff everywhere. And so even new good things bring about change. And so our hope is to tell kids that change isn't bad, but we want to help them learn how to navigate change. Does that make sense? I think this will be really good. In fact, that first week when we get to small groups, that first week of small group, we're going to give every small group a plant. Get a little baby plant. And that's going to be like your small group pet for 4 weeks. And so to rotate around the kids who like pass it for a couple days, bring it and do it, you can water it. And we're going to take a picture of the plant at the beginning of the series. And you got to, hopefully don't die. And by the end of the series, the guys are all dying. Dang, I didn't think about that. We're going to get you, look at the guy's fake plants. But by the end of it, hopefully your plant has grown, has changed. And you don't see that overnight. But it's happening. We want to illustrate how they're changing and God is with it and growing them too. So we do like fun things with that. All the way leading up to our Halloween party in the middle of that, which is Minion Halloween party. So for Halloween party this year, you have to dress up as a Minion. If you don't, you can't come. Gotta still Boo? I'll get your face. We'll have some costumes and stuff for kids, like so if they can. But it's just like we like to do big fun things, and so that's just a fun thing. We'll do a Minion party. And then, that was a smaller one. Go to the next one. Oh, that was a roundabout one. All right, go to the next one. Here's the next one. In November, I didn't cue it this time yet. In November, we're going to do a series called AI, Artificial Identity. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I believe that our world is in an identity crisis. And our world doesn't know who they are, and our students are in identity crisis too. In so many different ways. And so we're going to talk about who they are, and that our identity isn't in a boyfriend or girlfriend. Our identity isn't in a grade in school. Our identity isn't what home life looks like. Our identity isn't how I feel or how I identify. Our identity is a child of God. That's who we are. And so we're going to spend a couple weeks helping kids realize that the world doesn't get to define them. Who comes and goes doesn't define them. Jesus defines. We're going to talk about what that looks like and what that means for a few weeks. All the way leading up to our very last one before Thanksgiving, which is our Friendsgiving. And we're going to do that again because I feel like that was pretty good. Somebody tell me what Friendsgiving was for those who are friends who didn't know. Shout out, who's loud. There it is. It was super complicated. I bet you can guess that. Yeah, Friendsgiving is where we had a lot of students come last year who we found out had never had a Thanksgiving meal before. Like their families don't do that. They come from different homes. And so we just said, you know what? we're doing Thanksgiving as a family here. And so we packed this place out. Every table we could fit, every chair we could fit in here. And we had almost 120 students that night. I think that was our most attended event last year. And we had people in the church that donated food. And it was just this beautiful, big feast. It didn't go how we thought. I was like, we're going to have plenty of time to be in small groups. I eat like 5 minutes. Like, it didn't go at all. But it was the coolest, most beautiful thing, just eating together. And so along the year, I always ask, hey, well, what did it? And you guys said by far that was one of the favorite things we did last year. And so we're going to do that again for Friendsgiving. That'll be the Thursday before Christmas. And then Christmas, we're probably going to talk about sweet baby Jesus, because it's Christmas. After Thanksgiving. Thursday before Thanksgiving is Friendsgiving. Thursday of Thanksgiving is Thanksgiving. The Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, is no SM. We don't meet that week. Families do things. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving is Friendsgiving. After Thanksgiving is Christmas. Really, we can start decorating today because I love Christmas. But we should. I don't know. We like Jesus more. So that's a roadmap. I have some ideas about where I think we're going after that, but I also don't like to put Jesus in a box. And I also sometimes we're like, hey, we're going to do this in January, February. Then January, February, we're like, we got to do this. But I feel like Jesus. So that's our roadmap for this fall. That's kind of where we're going. These are our events for the fall. On the 18th of December, we're going to do an SM Thriftmas party. And the rule is that you can only wear what you can find at a thrift store. Even underwear. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I'm not going to go there. I'm just saying. Any kind of a thrift store. We'll talk more as we get through. Patricia had this really cool idea, and she said, what if we, like that night, could like kids bring clothes that we could donate to people like who don't have clothes, or to a thrift store too. And so we actually help teach students how to serve and how to give back to the community. I think that's a really cool idea. So that's kind of what we got on down for the fall. How's that look? Y'all excited about that? Yeah. I am super excited for what God is doing, what He's going to do through our team. So that's the calendar. You guys say calendar, that's exciting. So Jake, go to the next slide. If you've never gone to Power Center, I feel like we're kind of all over the place. But these are some of our teams if you're interested in serving. So I mentioned pre-service. During pre-service time, there are multiple teams happening during that. And so, Ryan, I said you were a pre-service, you were a pursuit, I lied, I'm sorry. So we have a security team. We do have a police officer on site, so just so y'all know. We pay for them, and so we'd rather have them and not need them, and need them and not have them. We have had moments where we needed them. In fact, we'll talk about in a second. Actually, I'll go knock out. There are 3 times that you cannot promise a student that you'll keep a promise. There are 3 times, if a student's a secret, if a student comes to me and says, hey, I have a secret, can you keep a secret? No, I can't. There are 3 times you are not allowed to keep a secret. If a student is hurting themselves, if a student is being hurt, or somebody else is hurting the student. If they're hurting someone, they're hurting themselves, they're hurting somebody else, or somebody's hurting them. You cannot keep that a secret. You cannot keep that a promise. You have to tell us. And we have had to do that before. And I'm so thankful that we have people around us who are smarter, better, know what to do in those moments, and help us handle that wisely and well. And so we do have a security team. So there's always a police officer on site. We also have a security team. We have, it's usually guys, not that it has to be, but I think it just is sort of like guys like just look macho and walk the parking lot. They look for the teens who are hiding in the cars, you know what I'm talking about. No, teenagers would never do that. So we have a security team. I'm totally scaring away the parents. We do a really good job. We have a check-in team. And so Jamie's leading our check-in team. So when kids come, what happens when kids come, Jamie? When you or I called you Jamie, Katie, I'm so sorry. I just said Jamie. Katie, you come up, you go to iPad, what happens? And what do they give you? They give you a stamp. We got these little stamps that say not to SM. And so it lets us know who we check in. So we have a check-in system, we check in, so we kind of see who's here, and so it just helps us track it, and that way we can also see when kids don't come, we know, hey, it helps us know, anybody forget things? I'm such a forgetful person. It helps us see who comes so we know when people miss out, so we can reach out to them and say, hey man, I really miss you this week. So we have a check-in team, pursuit team, that's what Ryan does, that's the fun everywhere. Inside, outside, dodgeball, 9 square, gaga ball, volleyball, hammocks, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switches, Twister sometimes, a tug of war. We had that happen last month. Where'd John Boy go? Is he in? There he is. How about that tug of war, man? Last month, we had a ton of kids come out, and we're like, we need like more games. And John Boy, so Ryan, we're like, John Boy, find something here to do it. He grabbed his tug of war rope. And I was like, what are you going to do with that? Like, inside, I'm like, that's not going to work. Also, I hear this screaming going on in the sanctuary. Like, he's got like 50 kids doing a giant tug of war in the sanctuary. It was the best thing. So we just play a lot of games, cafe. Patricia leads our cafe team. And so we, sometimes the quickest way to students' heart is to their stomach. And so we give them, we do, no pickles. We do some fun different things. Somebody so graciously helped, we had a couple people donate on my slushy machine. We have a professional slushy machine. And so we do slushies. It's been incredible. I think the theme for next month is going to be carnival food. So we have like cotton candy and different things for kids to jack up on sugar and send home to our parents. And so it's going to be a whole lot of fun. But we feed them, we have fun, we play games. That all happens during that 6:30 to 7 o'clock. We have a tech team. Jamie all the way in the back helps us with our tech team at the church. Jamie's on staff. What's your title here?
I don't know. What is it, Ron?
Did you say whatever, Ryan? Like that's your title, whatever. What is it? Like, do y'all remember 2 weeks ago at church? Like, I don't know if you know, we had a big storm. All of our tech equipment went out. Our screen went out. Nothing was working. And Jamie was one who really helped fix all that. Jamie, we live stream on Wednesdays and helps lead like our audio and sound. So Jamie does that. So we have a tech team. If you're like, I want to be here, but I'm scared to death of teenagers, that can be a really good spot. But we also have something called childcare. And so childcare, my wife Lindsay's going to help coordinate this year. And so in the past, Lauren and Michael have killed it at our childcare. And Darlene too. Darlene's in the nursery. She watched our baby for so long. And, we had a foster baby who is at home with her dad, and things are going really well with her. That's her mom. Poppy is. But to give you an example. Many of y'all know this, but we reached things who were far from God, and so this last year we had a teenager who was pregnant, committed SM for the first time. And I think she was nervous at how it would be received. And she ended up having her baby, and the day she had a baby, I went to the hospital and I saw her. I walked in and she goes, oh, shit. And she said, and then her boyfriend's there, she said, that's the pastor. Did bad night. I prayed over them, I met him, so cool. Well, we did a sermon series on integrity, sexual integrity, and she made a commitment. She said, I'm going to bring him to church. And he started coming to SM every week after that, and they had the baby, and after I said, hey, I never want a baby to be a reason you can't come. And so she would bring the baby and Darlene to watch the baby in the nursery so this teenager could come and hear about Jesus. Like, isn't that a beautiful thing? When you reach people far from God, life is messy. And I'm so thankful for people in this room who are willing to get in the mess and not stand on the sideline and say, I don't know, that's messy. Jesus got his hands dirty. And I'm so thankful for a team that does too. I'm going to check up. So, but sometimes being back there, you can forget, you miss sometimes the importance of what you're doing. Like childcare is so important because without it, many of us in this room couldn't come. And so one of our hopes is that I think I put on there like to do 1 or 2 times, and our hope is that nobody's back there every week because I want you to not miss what the Lord is doing out here with the teenagers. Because sometimes you go back there and it's like, man, I'm watching kids again, and I don't want you to miss what God is doing because of you and through you. And so hopefully, if you're not a small group leader, maybe like, hey, I'm going to do childcare, once a month and help lighten the load. And we've grown, and we have a lot of kids back there. So even being able to split and have a separate preschool and elementary would be huge back there. So that is a big need that we have. Leader food. And I told you that Karen and Chastity and Amber do our leader food. Every week we do it. Awesome. Usually that involves coming early. Again, that's a role where it's like, hey, I want to be used, but I don't know if, like, I don't know. Karen, do you like it? No, I don't want to ask it. But like, so here's the thing. People want a mission trip, and like, I don't know. Teenagers are not that scary. They're really not. They're pretty cool. Sometimes too cool and super blunt. They'll tell you exactly what they're thinking. But we have a leader food, so you're like, hey, maybe I can help out with that. And then being a small group leader is also a thing as well. And if you look on the back of your card, there are some roles for that. You can feel free. You do not have to fill this out. But if you're interested in it, if you served last year and it hasn't changed, you can just put same. But these are some of the different roles if you're interested in doing them. And in a minute, you're going to have a chance. I'm going to have a team kind of hang around and ask any questions. But if you fill one of these out, you get a pretty cool t-shirt, and but you got to come serve next week. So that's the deal. Also, here's something cool. I didn't tell you this. For the first time ever, our leaders are actually getting different shirts. These are actually, the student shirts are different color. So this is small. Oh, guacamole. So these are the, so not for 50. So these are our student shirts. The students get one. As leaders, we get this heather pumpkin. That's the colors of the pumpkin. Because pumpkin and all things nice. Anyway, so our students will get next week. We'll get one of these, and if you come next week, I might give you one of these ones too. But all of our students who come, every student who comes next week is going to get a T-shirt. After SKO, we use these as our first time gifts for students. These will be like our theme throughout the year as we do these shirts. That's really cool. So that is that. But let me do some fine print. There's something a couple things we have to talk about real quick. Grab your handbook, and I want you to turn to page 2122. So, full disclosure, we're going to switch tones just a little bit from vision to. There are some fine details, some honest things that we just need to talk about real fast. And so, if you're checking things out, maybe you'll appreciate this, maybe you won't, I don't know. But there are some fine things, some important things that we need to make sure that we all know as adults. So on page 21 in your handbook, it's called the fine print. And it talks about this. Talk about some of these things. You'll notice in paragraph 2 it says, absolutely indisputable. These are things that we need to keep in mind when we deal with teenagers that are not of your gender. One is, regardless, you should never be alone with a teenager. And I have to tell you why. This might not be for you. I think we get that, right? This isn't 1950s, 60s, this is 2024. And you can never be alone with a teenager. 1, to protect yourself. 2, to protect them. 3, all it takes is one accusation to change everything. But we should never be in a position where one accusation should change everything. We should always be of high integrity when it comes to teenagers. We should never be alone with them. If you're setting up a meeting with a teenager, you should always let the parent know. Like maybe there's someone in your small group like, hey, I want to get coffee. It is really wise to let the parent know, hey, is it cool if I go take Joe out for coffee at Middlegrounds? Whatever it is. I should never take Joe back to my house by myself. But you can go public places, right? But you should always let the parent know, but you should never be alone. Another one, it says maintain physical boundaries. Be wise. There is something new that we are implementing in MSNBC. And this is new, and you may disagree with it. And honestly, I would appreciate. I get it if you do. But that very last sentence, it says no front hugs with students of the opposite sex. All it takes is one accusation. And let me just say, this isn't something I've seen. I've never seen. We got some parents. I feel like I need to back up. Never seen anything inappropriate happen. No inappropriate touching. I remember right out of high school, I started a camp in South Carolina. I worked for Clemson at a Christian camp. We did this training, and as a college kid, they're like, hey, I'm just going to let you know, go through training. They said, middle school girls will flock to you. And I was like, what? That's weird. This is like you're at this age where middle school and high school girls will go to college boys. And they said, you need to protect. I was like, that's never going to happen. And it did. And I didn't know what to do with that. And I'm not saying that we're inappropriate in how we're hugging, but we need to protect them. I feel like I'm talking to guys as a dad, but across the board. Are you guys hearing what I'm saying? Yeah. Do you understand the why behind the what? Yeah. Does that make sense? And because we want to protect them, and I'll be honest, I have a 19-year-old daughter, she just graduated. But if I came out here and my daughter was hugging all the guys around here, bro, right? I mean, I'm not a big guy, but I'll go down fighting. I'll go down fighting. I look at through that lens of who do I want, and how do I want guys touching, hugging my daughters? And so let's just honor them really well, and young girls and young men for the ladies. Side hugs are great. I'm gonna let you know a little secret. This is why I do secret handshakes. I have secret handshakes with a lot of students, right, Jenny? This is our secret handshake. And it's a way that I hopefully get to show a student, hey, I see you, I care about you, I know you, I love you, without having to be does this make sense? Are y'all tracking what I'm laying down here? And you can always play the, when Tim said I can't cry, I always give you permission. I don't think you should, and I'll tell you why, because I don't think it obviously makes me look good, which honestly I don't really care. It doesn't make the ministry look good to say, I wish I could hug you, but Tim won't let me. Okay, that's creepy, right? But also, it doesn't make you look good. Do you know what I mean? I reserve my hugs for my wife. You know what I'm talking about? Right? I'm not, okay, I feel like we need to move on. This is your y'all catch what I'm saying, but if you're like, if you say, hey, like, I love it, let's come up with like a secret handshake. Like, first of all, you're not throwing anybody the bus, you're not even drawing attention to it. But you're also honoring yourself, you're honoring your own family, and you're honoring them. And you're teaching them what appropriate touching is too. Because they don't always know. So, okay, let's move on. So that's page 21. Let's see if it gets better for page 22. Top of the page, always err on the side of caution. That's good. Then it gets to the report dangerous situations. I already mentioned this, but remember the three times you cannot promise to keep a secret. You cannot. You have to report it, and if you tell them you can keep a secret, and then you find out you can't, you just broke their trust. But don't share. How many of y'all have ever had a student ask you a secret, and you told them this, and you're glad you told them that? We've had this happen before. I'm not asking for situations, it happens. But this is what I found more than not. 9 times out of 10, if I tell a student I can't keep a secret, they still usually tell me the secret. Because they still want to tell somebody. Like, they still want to bring you in on it. But the difference is, you've told them, hey, I probably can't. And sometimes I've been brought into conversations and said, hey, I told them they have a secret. I told them I couldn't keep it. I was going to tell you, let's go do it. And then we help take the right steps to help them stay safe and do the wise thing. Does that make sense? Now, I pray we don't have that happen. Right? I think it happened 2 times this year. And I'm so glad we have the right people in those moments. But you can't keep a secret. And I want to protect you. And then the last one is we do background check everybody. If you want to be here on a Wednesday night, if you're over 18, we run background checks. And made some people mad on this. We had some people come who brought people who were over 18 and like, hey, this person served me tonight. I'm like, oh, no, they're not. And, like, I have like a real bad poker face. And like, they can see, like, I'm not even like pretending to be happy. You know what I'm saying? And they were mad. I was like, this is our rule. Every person on campus gets background checked. I don't know you. You probably won't want me. I'm a stranger. You don't want me around your kids if you don't know me. And I love you and I don't want you around because I don't know you. You may be the greatest person in the world. But we're still going to background check everybody who comes. So if you want to serve in SM, if you're signing up before next week for you to come, I'll send you an invite. We use it's called Checker. Is a organization we use. They do the background check, so we'll send you an invite. You put your information in, so it's not like we have your social security stuff on file. You file it to them, and they send us back the reports, criminal reports of things that happen. And you can imagine there are certain things. If that shows up, it's an automatic no-go. It doesn't matter if it was 50 years ago. It's an automatic no-go. You could have been 18 and she was 16, it's a no-go. Y'all catch what I'm saying on that one. Also, how long ago things happened, other than that matters too. Like within the last year, if there's like a big criminal within the last year, I love you. And we said last year, hey, we're going to be a healthy ministry, we're going to have hard conversations, and I want you to call me on things, and in love, I'm going to be honest and real with you. And in that season, I would say you probably need to make sure that you're healthy and wise and getting spiritually poured into before you empty yourself and try to pour into something else. But I'll be blunt, we've had people serve in church who have had some big time things on the record. People who did some time in prison. We had a guy, I won't say his name, he served in student ministry, he did hard time prison, came out, man, he was a kick-butt small group leader. He has his own business in town now. He's doing incredible. And so God is a God of grace, God is a God of second chances. But time matters, and we're going to honor God, we're going to honor him, but we're going to make sure that kids are safe first. Does that make sense? Y'all cool with that? So I just want to clarify, in case there's a misconception, if there's someone that you want to invite to come check things out, many of y'all do this, make sure you let me know in advance. And we will background check them. If someone goes through first look, they're going to get a background check before they come, even if it's just a one-time thing, because we want to make sure that every person who steps on campus is safe. And that's why, if you're new to 902, we do life groups, we do small groups in 902, and they can meet any night at church, except Wednesdays. Wednesday's the night that are shut down with the Joshua Student Ministry, because I want to make sure kids are safe. Does that make sense? Y'all cool with that? So that's the time for that. That wasn't as fast as I thought. So that is a 1,000-foot view of what SM is this year. That's our theme, that's our vision this year. I believe that God's going to do some incredible things through it. So we're going to pray. And then if you're interested, we're going to hang out, have time of questions. Our leadership team's going to come up front. If you have a question about a certain team, a question about how something works. I talk really fast. There's something that I said, they're like, ooh, that was too fast. We'll go over that. And then if you want to turn in your card, we have an awesome shirt for you. And then we will hope to see you next week at Escobedo. So let's pray. God, we thank you again for tonight. We thank you for our time. I thank you for the investment of each person in this room to come out and hear your vision and to hear what's going on. And God, I thank you for what you're going to do this year. It is a true honor and privilege to serve your people and to serve your students. God, we don't take that lightly. We live in a dark, hard world where not a lot of people are following Jesus. And I thank you for godly men and godly women who who want to invest in the next generation. And maybe say, hey, I'm going to be somebody who I wish I had when I was that age. I'm going to be somebody who's going to step in those hard times because there's kids who have nobody to talk to, God. And so I just thank you in advance for the people in this room. I thank you for who they are and their heart and their passion and their purpose. God, as we step into this next year, I pray for discernment on all of our hearts of what you're calling us to do, what you want us to do. Not because we're compelled, because we're here, or God, would you just give us wisdom into the commitment that we're making? And to really say, God, is this the right place, the right season, and the right fit for me? And if it is, God, I pray we go all in. Because you're going to lead us. And we're going to have some incredible high moments, and there'll be some hard moments. But God, it is a true blessing on the other side. And so I thank you for the students you're going to bring out. I thank you for our team leaders and their heart for our teams, Father. I thank you for this church, for a church and a community that's chasing after people who are far from God. And I pray that we never forget that, and we're willing to step into the mess. So I thank you, and I praise you, because you're good. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Like I said, we're going to hang out.